Well, I think at some point in life, everybody has experienced trauma. And trauma is in the eye of the beholder. Trauma is in the eye of the person who experiences it. What may not seem like a big trauma to some will be a huge trauma to others because it's all in their perspective. People tend to think of trauma like it has to be a rape or the house burning down or a tornado, but it can be as simple as, and I say simple, but it can be just a child's father deserting them when they're 2 years old, and something that they've never been able to process or get past.
So when a person comes into your office seeking help for that, what leads them to that point? When do they know that that trauma is affecting them when they need to come seek help?
I think the majority of people finally get to a point where the trauma itself becomes so heavy that it is weighting them down. And they get to that point, I need help. Something's got to give here. I'm tired of carrying this.
And so they get to that point either on their own or through the advice and help of others, and they come to you. How in the world do you help people with that?
Well, one of the things that I traditionally use here is a therapy called EMDR, and that is the short version for eye movement and desensitization reprocessing. And it is a technique where you go to the place in the brain where the trauma is filed, and it accesses the negative cognitions or thoughts that a person has related to that trauma, such as, a rape victim may say, I should have fought harder, I shouldn't have been in that place, I shouldn't have been wearing whatever, and it goes to where that faulty thinking is, and it changes that faulty thinking to reality, realistic based thinking, such as I did the best that I could, you know, um, thoughts of this was not me, I survived, I am not what happened to me.
Well, if I was a trauma person, my thinking is I would come to you and we'd spend multiple hourly sessions for months talking about it.
Mhm.
What you're telling me is that probably is not going to happen, at least to a large degree. Is that true?
Traditional talk therapy to me doesn't work as well as the EMDR, but what I have noticed is I meet my client where their needs are. And if they need to talk for a while, we talk about it. And then, I tell them immediately about the EMDR, but not everyone will be ready to access that at that point. So we may talk a bit first, and you want to gather a full history. You want to gather where they are in their life now, what they're wanting to work on in regard to that trauma. And then I kind of go with that process. Some people are willing to start the EMDR fairly quick. Some want to talk a little bit and then we do it. And so I kind of pace that, as to what they're also going to be comfortable with because this is their therapy.
Well, it sounds like that you're kind of open and flexible to whatever the client's needs are,
I am.
regardless of the reason for their grief. Sounds like you're focusing on what will get them through it to a better place.
I
But same
am.
thing. Gotcha. Typically, depending, let's use an example. Like I have a grandmother in the hospital right now who may or may not make it. If she passes, I'm going to have a significant amount of grief. I
Mm-hmm.
hope I can get through it. But if I couldn't and have to come into counseling, what kind of time frame are we looking at to actually move through it?
Well, that is very individualized. Everybody has different resources within themselves that help them heal or help them advance through healing. Some people can move through quickly and they just need somebody to listen for a few sessions. Some people might want to come a year after the death of a loved one. It's really just in that person. And I kind of gauge that as we go along, how they progress, how they're responding, you know, um, how they see themselves as getting better. Because, they're often the best monitor, they and their family around them, as to how much they are improving.
So, in closing, what is your best advice for someone who has experienced some sort of trauma and is looking for assistance from the outside to help them? What would you recommend they do?
I would recommend that they do seek somebody trained in EMDR. While some people do not want to immediately start EMDR, EMDR is proven. It's proven, to be very effective in the treatment of trauma, no matter what that trauma was through. whether it was as simple as bullying when you were a kid, or you've been in a war, or you're a rape survivor. The healing that comes from that process is great.